it back
this
into
has to be a little bit more of a political budget than the ones before. We've got used to the Prime Minister coming out and sticking very closely to the fiscal glide path. We've, talked in terms of pragmatism, a great working man's budget and this, that, the other. But this time, there has to be a greater political emphasis. There has to be political messaging that can be traced right back to the budget speech itself. We have forgotten that this is the first time in 10 years that Prime Minister Modi is presenting, or his government is presenting, a budget when the BJP itself does not have a majority. And to blindly believe that the Prime Minister is not going to pay heed to the political cues, I think would be a bit of a mistake.
No, but is it possible that despite the political cues and the compulsions, there can be enough that this government today can do to ensure that we continue to be not just on the growth path, but perhaps on a far more accelerated rate? Because one would like to believe that compared to 2014, Saket Mishra, in 2024, Bharat is in a far better financial health, be it its banks, be it its own coffers, be it its own, the overall health of the nation. Where do you stand?
I mean, I think there is no choice. Fundamentally, we need to stop thinking about the fact that we are the fastest growing economy in the major economies, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Eventually, we need to measure ourselves against our potential.
Correct.
I think as a country, we can do reforms much faster. Second, we need to fundamentally accept the dichotomy in this country that there is a large cap sector that potentially can scale, but guess what? That cannot create jobs of the level that is required. There is also a huge population that requires support in terms of whether it's skilling up, whether it's getting a livelihood, and these are two very, very fundamental strategies. One strategy can't cover all. So we need to reform, release our private sector to do what they do best, which means without without a lot of impediments every day. Improve things like deemed approvals and fine them heavily.
No, but Saket, this is where the problem is. You see, we talk about reforms. We started our conversation this morning about deregulation and reform. I have to ask this sort of pessimistic question, and please, I hope you can come up with an optimistic response for all of us. Have we missed that reform, the hard reforms bus? Have we missed it? We had 10 years of a government with a phenomenal majority that the public gave. Reforms did happen. The pace was wanting and the depth was wanting. So you had breadth, but you didn't have depth. Now, can it be done in a situation
100%.
like this?
I mean, I have enormous faith in the potential of this country. I think first step has to be that whether it is the government bureaucracy or whether it's the parliament, there needs to be a responsiveness to the requirements of the country. I'll take a simple example.
So is the opposition on board? Is it responsive
I'm
enough?
Sure, I hope to God they will be. But it's not just the opposition. I think let's take skilling, right? Every time there is a budget for skilling and there's a huge amount of money there, we do not measure outcomes. It's garbage in, garbage out, and people keep. The fact is that the money should be seen to be used as producing jobs, not in creating another building with another office, another commissariat.
Right.
Second, the reason why reforms haven't perhaps had as big an impact is because the end of the day, we do have a large population of people who do not feel they're getting the benefits of that reform.
Yeah.
So we need to ensure that the benefits of the reform, which means that you create, let's say, X $100 of additional value through reforms, at least 20 of that has to go towards not just free cereal, and I think there was panelists before who was talking about folks not wanting to work. That's an absolute problem because in Punjab, for instance, today, you do not have guys who want to work in farms.
Yeah, now here is one thing. So Rajiv to your right and then Rajiv to your left, and then we'll take it to Zaka and the others. This issue of a lazy workforce. Now Rajivji, is this a serious problem for us as a country, and how are we going to shake this out?
Well, I don't know why we should worry about the laziness of the workforce or not. The point is, do they feel that there are opportunities to advance themselves? Do they know that they can? That none of that stuff is available on the ground. So they just soldier on as is, as when, and nothing ever happens. So I don't think it's fair to blame the laziness of the workforce. I think, first of all, I think the government should leave the economy well enough alone, first of all. It shouldn't tinker with his, that and the other, and they bring in all these tax experts. in the finance ministry to knock off 0.1% of some tax or whatever. This is some sort of a primeval thing. It's not real, it's not modern, it's not contemporary. And I'm afraid that a lot of people expected it from this government, but that hasn't come. And because you haven't changed the finance ministry, it's the same people. Doesn't matter who's on top.
No, I wouldn't pass a judgment saying they're lazy or something, but if you pay people not to work, they won't work. Why is that surprising?
Who's paying people?
All the welfareism that we're having, I mean,
Do
you have welfareism on a
Do you
scale.
even know the welfare amount dedicated to welfare? This is
No,
Okay,
there is a
let
significant
him say his
welfare
piece.
push
Let him
going
say
on
his
in the
piece and then
country.
you can counter. Yeah.
It is true that it is hard to find workers. Please run a business
That
and
is
see
true.
for yourself.
It is hard.
what do you think I've done for 40 years, man?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know
No,
your
no,
personal
tell
background.
me why is it
Rajiv,
hard?
No, is it because there is a lack of availability of the kind of labor that you need? Or because I think to say that people are lazy, I think it's
Yeah, that's
I didn't say that.
that's
I mean, that was
unfair.
not my word.
Okay, no, no,
That's why I
I'm
said
asking.
that.
Okay, we'll take back the roll back the
Lazy,
word and
that's
say
not
it's
lazy.
not lazy. But
They are
are
getting
we
what they
seeing
want.
are we seeing a workforce that wants to earn money but does not want to work as hard?
No, so can I just